Ich bin in einem spielende Dot.
Ooh, a chess game? Well, once I make my move, you're free to check the king.
And with that, welcome everyone to this episode of the Cheap Seat Critics podcast, where today we are covering The Seventh Seal from 1957. With me today we have
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Geeky Rider.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Sprinks, and hey, if you're listening from good golly, 1957 Sweden, the film is filmed. It's a Swedish film, but I don't know if it takes place in Sweden. I don't know. Anywho, you can find us over on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Ski, as well as LetterBoxd, where we have average out numbers and graphs. We have visual side of things on YouTube and Rumble, but hey, maybe not your cup of tea. You can see us over on, or actually hear us. Oh, you won't see us. You can hear us on tons of audio platforms as well.
Yes, and the reason we're covering The Seventh Seal is because on our season 24 recap, we did a sinister wheel spin, which landed on black and white. And the rules on that, it could be a modern black and white, could be old, whatever. But Sinister ended up picking this, The Seventh Seal.
A movie's release of black and white.
Yes,
I think
we counted
had
like
a couple
special
caveats.
editions, like Logan. It has to be completely black and white.
Yeah, it can't be like the Snyder cut in black and white because that's just the vision, I guess. But
Yeah,
it needs
and
to
I
be
think
like
we
originally shot in black and white.
vetoed like Sin City.
Yeah, because there's red in it. So this is what Sinister came up with, and definitely constitutes as black and white. So good on him for picking that correctly. Let's go with histories first, starting with writer.
All right, I have heard of this before. Being in the more, I guess, philosophical sphere sometimes, and being in the more being in the horror sphere every now and again. I had been told before that in this film is one of the best on-screen depictions of death, however you might depict death. That is all I knew going in. I don't really think I've seen much else from before. I think I've seen maybe the image of death standing at the beach, like spreading his cloak wide at the very beginning of the film. But I can't say I have much history with it, so this is the first time watching me with a podcast. But that is my brief history.
All right, I'll go next. This is a film I'd never heard of before, and I didn't think I would have known anything about it, but having seen it, I have seen the image of death before. I can't recall from where or when, but I just recognized it. And that's about it. I've seen it once for the podcast. Brinks, you're up.
Oh boy. The only thing I know about this movie before watching it, being that this was my first time, was that this film is connected as one of the titles in the Criterion Closet. That was it. I didn't know anything about it. I don't know what was connected to it. Never seen an image from it. That's it.
The Criterion Collection. Something that Sinister's a big fan of.
Yeah, I
Alright.
think, yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. I shall go into facts that I have found, starting with what I typically do, being the budget. It had a budget of $150,000. I did not run that through an inflation calculator, so I failed you guys on that.
But
But
150 USD?
yeah, that one's USD conversion.
Okay.
Now, the interesting part with box office. So, all I could find for the box office on its release was $892. So I don't know how that metric was formed. Like I found it online, but that's apparently it's a release box office.
So it
Um,
bombed.
yeah, if this number is 100% accurate, yeah. Uh, but they've had 3 re-releases in theaters since it released in the 50s. one in 2007, which made 216,000. One in
Oh, so it's
2017.
I was gonna say it's 50th anniversary.
Uh, yeah, looks like it. Uh, so yeah, 216,000 for that. In 2017, it got re-released again, quite limited. It had $13,000, and in 2022 with 80,000. So roughly, it's made 300,000 for its whole theatrical run.
Interesting. So 2017 would have been its 60th. 2022,
Doesn't seem very significant.
no, 65th anniversary.
Kind of random. I don't know, but it did. So that's that. Um, this film, okay, the script was rewritten 5 times. The studio didn't like the first 4. And, the success of the director's previous work, which I didn't write down, gave the studio confidence in his ability. So then they greenlit his 5th script, and they only gave him 35 days to produce this film. So
Wow.
yeah,
A little tight.
short turnaround. Yeah.
Kind of explains the reused locations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something in regards to the locations, which I found kind of neat, was in it's a hard name. Ingmar Bergman. I probably butchered it. Who's the writer director? Based the entire iconography of the film on murals in a church where his clergyman father used to go and preach.
Oh, close to the heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could actually see some of that. There's some very church mural imagery that I could think of, like during some of the stiller frames of the film. That definitely kind of evoked a certain particular picture in my mind.
Spoilers for the end of the film. I know if you're watching this, you probably have not seen this, obviously, but the scene where Death is dancing away with his followers was shot after some of the actors had gone home for the day, using some technicians and a few tourists as stand-ins.
That's
Ingmar Bergman conceived the scene on the spot and had to improvise quickly because of an interesting cloud formation that he wanted in the background.
that's awesome.
Oh,
Some
I
real rugged on the ground filmmaking with that.
the cloud was not iconic enough to stand out to me.
It was to him. Uh, so that's the origin of that scene. So because there was a cool looking cloud to him.
Interesting.
And the last fact I'm going to go with was kind of a goof on their part. They didn't do their research properly. They the Queen wasn't a piece people focused back during the plague. It was a couple centuries later when the Queen ended up becoming the strongest piece, called the Mad Queen. So that was something they were a little off on.
Oh, for the chess game?
Yeah,
I mean,
they made it like a modern chessboard
Yeah,
instead of what would have
that
been the period.
yeah, and that was changed because I think of an English monarch, and I don't remember her name. I want to say it's Victoria, but I feel like that's wrong.
Yeah, the
Antonious Block,
story,
Night Out
story
of Time.
was like she saw her subjects playing it and brought up, do you see me this week? So then they made the piece stronger or something.
Actually, it was there was the inventor of chess who was, or one of the someone was actually, you might be right. It might have been, so she saw. I think it was someone in her court that she saw playing in the game. There's a lot of various
This was a
stories around that.
fact I heard years ago, so
Yeah,
that's just crimson memory.
yeah.
Feel
Don't
free to
worry.
look it up yourselves.
Don't worry.
Uh,
That's also a years ago writer fact. So I'm just. I think it went to very.
It certainly isn't wizard chess.
it's not Wizard's Chest. With that, that will conclude the facts section, and we'll go diving into the main coverage. We're going with a popcorn structure, so we can hop around anywhere in the film, beginning to end, whatever. Starting with Springs.
Sweet. I'll do an overarching big thing. What the hell is the seventh seal?
Big question right at the gate. So
Yeah.
it was kind of, was it the last note I wrote? Yeah, it was the last note I wrote. I wrote, was death the seventh seal? Because when they're jumping over the hill, like arm to arm or whatever, it's the six of them from the castle, and then death leading the charge. So my assumption is death is the seventh seal.
I only know what the seventh seal is in the Bible. I would guess just within the film, it's supposed to be death, kind of the quiet, I guess.
Huh.
Brinks, you seem perplexed or something.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. I mean, just of like 7, and then at the end they're all grouped up of 7 total, so that's a 7th symbolism. But I don't know. I was just confused on why it was called that.
I mean, if it really is death being the seventh seal, then I would say it would be relevant because the whole movie's about death.
True, but then it would lead to question that it has to line up with the previous 6 somehow. Because there's more than 6 characters.
Yeah, but there was only 6 strung along at the end. The others were spared.
Well, not all of them. Jonas wasn't spared.
Yeah.
Oh, he was at the back with the lyre or whatever. So was that what the instrument was, lyre? Um,
Oh, then I was confused.
that's a
Who was
line
spared
that
who was spared in the castle then?
maybe the wife that was there.
The wife
The
was spared?
line that what's his name?
John
I had some
Joff.
issue with names. Lots of J's. Joff.
Joff.
Yeah. Joff said he
I
was in
called
the back
everybody their
with
title,
the
so.
lyre. Yeah. So
Huh.
and because
Alright.
it's stand-ins and stuff, can't really distinguish the
No.
actors.
And they're all silhouetted, but
I guess,
okay.
yeah, I guess for the
So it's
purposes.
5
Sorry.
5 from the castle, 1 survived, and then Jonas from the tree is a part of the 6.
Yeah,
Or I guess 7 with
the
death.
end of it.
Odd.
But I would say the ending to this is odd anyway.
Yeah. Well, is it confirmed then the other 5 are from the castle? Or could you also put in like the witch who was burned? Or the grave robber who died of the plague?
He did say he did list off the people. I think he listed off 5. Shoot, I'd have to look back at that because he was describing them over the hill to
To Mia.
Mia with his visions. Kind of a funny little tone breaker when she's like, just another vision.
That did make me question, being that Joff could see death, if that's a sign that Joff was to die.
Could be. He
I
could be like terminally ill or like a medium or something. I don't know.
they set that up though before he sees death. Like he
True
sees.
that he sees visions, but they could
Yeah.
play with the half and half of, is it actually him just seeing it because he has the vision too, or death is at the doorstep for Joff to off him off kind of thing.
Mhm.
But we also see he sees stuff that isn't death though. So like the Virgin Mary with the baby.
Yeah.
He does see more that is not just death.
No, but we see, Jonas sees death and Antonious sees death. So I just thought it was a connection. It's like, oh, Joff sees death now, and it's played into him thinking it's a vision when it could be actually death coming to get him.
Very well could be. We don't really get a conclusion to him as a character.
Well, the conclusion is he's still alive at the end of the movie.
Yeah, but we don't know if he dies like 1 minute later or he
That's
lives a
true.
full
He'll die
life.
eventually.
He just has a heart
Yeah.
attack on screen and just off screen.
Yeah, they pan out of the shot and he just collapses on the ground and
That's the
then
credits.
credits roll.
I
This movie have an after credits?
Yeah,
No.
I do think the title, the Seventh Seal, is probably more symbolic. I think, rather than it being rather literal within the story. And the reason for that is because if I remember right, it's the Seventh Seal in the Book of Revelation is supposed to like an opening door that's supposed to introduce silence into heaven. And uh, I don't as for tying that into this film, the best I could think of as far as like what that would mean in relation to the titles, I think the director really likes to intentionally use silence in the film. Um, and what crashes into that silence at certain points in the story. But that's pretty much all I can think of as far as like directly outside of what you guys were describing as far as tying the seventh seal to death specifically. I think that's would be the other interpretation of what it could mean.
Okay. There's also like seven deadly sins, and I didn't pick up if those were all prominent. And it's like if the last one was shown towards the end, it's like that marks the seventh.
That would be
Uh,
interesting. I don't. So this is weird because I don't think they play with the other seals in as far as the Book of Revelation goes. And I feel like if they were going to play with the seven deadly sins, they would have been a little bit more explicit with that and relating the title of the film to it.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And I don't feel this movie was trying to portray sins in any capacity like that, like as a message thing. It's kind of just like death is inevitable. It's not like a punishment for your sins type thing.
Yeah. It's just
Uh, yeah, I agree with your second half, not your first half of what you said, Crimson. Because there's definite prominent sins in here of both the mural, the
Oh, there
painter
are
that he puts up, and then the interruption in the town square with the sinners.
Yeah, I wasn't saying there weren't sinners or sinnings. I was just saying it. I don't think the story's about sins. It's more about the inevitability of death. What is death? What comes after?
Okay.
Let's go with our writer point.
yeah. I'll jump to a small one. It's at the towards the beginning. And it's a little nitpick, and it might. And I have to preface this. This is I watched a subtitled translation, so it could just be the translation being weird. But Death asks Crusader. I call him Crusader in my notes, but it's Blanc, Antonious Blanc, uh, Antonious Block. Uh, he's like, "Why do you play chess?" And then the Crusader responds, "That's my business." And then they sit down, and then he says, "As long as I hold out against you, I get to live." So he explains himself like immediately afterwards, which was a little weird for me.
Makes sense to me. He's setting the terms of the game. What I didn't get is what is, I guess, death
Oh, is
by
that
winning.
is that him setting
Is
the terms?
oh,
I didn't. I guess I didn't read it that way. It could be that because I took it as like
you wouldn't want to get killed while playing the game.
Yeah, I
That's
think it's a
cheap shot.
I think it's a small trick because they keep tricking each other back and forth, and I think it's a start to it.
Oh.
Allow death kind of later, so death isn't that malicious an intent in the church. It's kind of just like I'll keep it to myself secretly, and death could pry or presume or magic or what have you.
Okay.
But then it's kind of revealed more to the audience. It's like, oh, tricked you to prolong my life.
Okay. All right. If that's how you guys are reading it, I will find that acceptable. I thought the dialogue was just a bit awkward, but then again, I subtitles, so I was curious on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Just wanted to vibe check, I guess.
I guess on that topic, and I guess I'll make it my point, is I didn't fully understand the reason why Death prolonged the game. Like he kept chopping it up into visits instead of just playing through a game.
What was going to kill Antonious Block? What was his cause of death?
It's not really and that's a whole nother question that I was going to bring up too.
Okay, I'm
It
trying to
feels
think if it's
Go ahead.
something that while death is present and not taken, Antonius to the afterlife, it's something that could be something. I don't know if the plague is great because Antonius has doesn't show any symptoms compared to the grave robber, but something like you could die any day now, and it just he keeps getting like a day or a couple hours at a time, and then death comes back and sees how it goes, kind of thing. That's how I kind of took it.
Yeah, if it's the plague, the symptoms could just not be showing yet. And I do think the plague might be a good reasonable inference, and the only reason, and some of the interesting supporting theories, I guess, around that would be the housemaid that the squire collects, her wanting to go help the dying guy from the plague, could be interpreted as obviously that just to kind of show that there's no point in helping him, but it could also be on her part where everyone in her village is dead as far as we can tell. So maybe she was infected all along. She's just not showing symptoms yet.
Possibly, it was very interesting though for her to try to go help him after her previous entanglement with the grave robber was that he was going to murder her.
Got
Was
a
that
heart of gold.
was that the same person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was darn it, I had his name several times in here.
It's the one.
Ra-
Yeah, Squire carves up his
Raval,
face, right?
Yeah.
Raval, whatever
Okay.
it is.
Yeah, that makes sense then. Okay.
Yeah, my thing on death, and I guess I'll just do another point on my own. Sorry, guys. Is he is the killer? Like it's not like the tree just naturally fell over or lightning struck it or something. He chopped
No.
it down.
No.
He
Yeah.
murdered him.
Murdering Jonas, very, very
Deliberately.
questionable. That was intentional killing.
Yeah, that was not like, oh, nature took him, and now I'm just gonna take him to the afterlife. He killed him.
Yeah, too many people saw his face, and that's why in the uh, Final Destination series, he doesn't really show himself anymore.
So that kind of piggybacked on what Sprinks was saying about how was Antonius gonna die. Death could have like cut him with a scythe. He could have done whatever he wants. Because to me, they've now established that Death is the killer. He doesn't just collect dead people; he's killing the people.
Yeah, I think Death just. It's not that he enjoys playing with his food. He's just. I mean, the implication that he's like people dance for him, so he's somewhat entertained by humanity. Like he likes his job, even if he doesn't maybe like killing people, if that makes sense. So maybe he does enjoy the fact, oh, okay, we can play a game. Like he might just really lean into that aspect of just his job.
And
It
even with
doesn't
the
come across.
witch, he was delivering her to her death, being the carriage driver.
Yeah, it doesn't come across very well if death actually embodies mortals and takes their place, such as like the father of the church, or the carriage driver you just said, Crimson, or like a woodsman to chop down a tree, or if that's actually just death being death, and those who are about to meet their demise can't see him. Because there's points where he's around and no one notices, which I saw it as like death is only going to be shown to those who are on the path to die, versus just a continuity or weird error of the movie where it's chosen who can and can't see him when he's around.
Yeah, they don't set any rules regarding death and his visibility.
Well, they do have Joff seeing Antonius playing chess with him, and Mia can't see death.
Yeah.
He's just playing
But then we also
chess by
have
himself.
after having the milk and strawberries, Antonius gets up and he's within eyesight of everyone talking to death. But no one else questions it.
It's just the issue I have with Um, why is it so hard? What was his name? The one that can
The
see
Jester?
death?
Jester.
Joff.
Yeah, Joff.
Joff.
Yeah, I mean, I have it written somewhere. Joff. The problem is he doesn't die, so we can't really apply that he is near death, and that's why he sees death.
Yeah,
Because
No.
the only
That just
that for me that was just a consistency with that he has visions and he can see strange things, and death just happens to be one of the things he can see.
yeah. Being that he didn't die at the end, that's what I went with as well. But again, could have played with the idea, since visual onto the audience seeing death causes death. So
let's go with a Springs Point.
oh boy. Yeah, can horses drink salt water? Or like anything to like
No,
bypass the salt or something? So
no
I
horses
think they
can.
have tolerance, but it's still not something they want to do.
Yeah, horses have better tolerance. But yes, they wouldn't. That would still not be something you do.
okay.
Anything specific with that?
Well, like at the very beginning of the movie, after the hit of the hook of the intense music with a real fake bird flying, the horses are out in the ocean drinking salt water. It just made you question. I just went, that's not, no, is this like a set? Is this I feel like it's an actual ocean for production wise.
Yeah, I mean the horses. I mean they will go drink water if you don't stop them, and I get the impression that the squire and Antonious Block are not really high energy enough to stop them at the moment.
Yeah, they're just kind of washed up, I guess, from their crusade.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're kind of just there on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leads into one of my issues, but
I
mind you,
thought
this.
Johns was dead.
Yeah,
No, I first him.
Me too.
the squire. Me too.
Ryder got a point.
I do. Yes. I'll jump to. It's kind of in the same scene. I. This is an older movie thing, so I don't blame the movie. It's of the time, but it's just one of those things that gets a little under my skin. Is that they're wearing their chainmail like it wears not like it weighs nothing, like they're sleeping in it. You don't do that. It's not. It's not. It's not what you do.
Wouldn't be very comfortable.
No.
Yeah, it weighs a lot. So him just lounging around casually, it's not something you would do. I do think the mail looks pretty good for 1957. It looks better than it might be the product of the black and white, but it looks better than just like the stupid cloth stuff that we got for like 30 years in Hollywood.
I think the black and white, the film grain, and the lower quality resolution on the film all add to it looking decent.
Yeah, there's one scene where I think the chainmail looks pretty bad, but I think it's just a product of it being like close up and like squarely in the center of the camera. Personal gripe.
Yeah, no, valid grip to have.
Guess little editing thing. I'm sure Springs picked up on it. Was that when the squirrel popped up on the stump after the tree got cut
Oh,
down?
the tree come down. Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of like do a splice cut, like a little time jump thing. They cut it.
Yes.
So it was there. I mean, that's
Did catch.
very common with film movies, old ones.
Especially with animal training. Yeah, I got another little edit thing of 3:35 timestamp of a layered green screen for the background when Antonius kneels down to pray by the ocean. It's closer on him, but the background's also in focus, so they're both in focus rather than the background blurred to focus on the foreground. And I think that's the only reason that they chose to do the green screen back, or maybe not fully green screen, but actually like projectored footage or B-roll of the ocean. Yeah. I think the only reason for it was to keep both in focus, but it is prominent to see because Antonius is still and the background's shaking a little like a level 3 earthquake.
Yeah, I had that timestamp there as well. I had a few interesting ones. Like the very obvious like ADR at 48:59 of the guy's face getting cut. The grave
Oh,
robbers.
yeah.
That was pretty bad.
There's a lot of ADR work in this movie.
That was pretty egregious. But once again, I feel like a lot of these like technical stuff
He
kind
only
of
had 35
come with
days
the
to shoot
day
on camera.
away
He
with
could
it.
have.
Yeah,
He had to probably do a lot
True.
of ADR work after that.
and the
True.
time's
What
an
I
excuse in the meta, but not with the execution of the final product. But I do think it is more in line with an aged product.
can
See
I
that in
can
a lot of older
agree with
films.
that for the ADR work. Yeah, sure. What I can't excuse is its choice to use and not use Foley work or sound effects. That I didn't understand throughout the movie. I didn't get why some parts had sound and other points had none. And not for the cause what you brought up earlier, Ryder, of using the choice of silence, where the intake of like physical performances or facial features or the scene itself to encompass in the silence, but there's other things going on and there's no noise.
Oh, you mean like just like
One,
walking through the village, you would hear like the clanging of the blacksmith or other things, stuff like that.
there'd be a little more of that. Yes, there's the. I'll excuse the Jonas falling out of the tree scream because the sounds of that was actually really funny. But like Revel getting his face cut, no noise to the cut, no scream, just falling, and then there's noise after it. When they're in the rainstorm, there's a lot of like wind, but I think it was the witch when she gets put up. There's no noise of the wood stopping, like the ladder she's on. Um, there's just like no sound effects that don't happen. And then I caught one like early on when they're patting a horse, and you can clearly hear that it's inside like a small room being recorded because of that going off the walls for the horse pat. But it just confused me, the choice to when to use and when not to use, and when not to use didn't stand out to me as an interesting choice of like what's the impact not to have.
And that one could breach into the meta thing of the time limit, getting that fully for everything. They probably had like prioritized stuff, and then they had stuff they didn't get to. All hypotheticals. I have no idea, but that would potentially be something.
Could be.
Let's go with our writer point.
You guys brought it up. The jester's first vision of the queen and the child. You guys thought that was did you say that was the Mary, the
Was
queen?
Joff said
That
it was
Joff
Virgin
said it was
Mary and
Virgin.
probably Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's what I said. I was leaning more that. My only, I guess this is just might be just for it being of the time, but I don't. I remember. I usually remember the Virgin Mary being depicted more as commoner, like commoner garb rather than like queenly. I'm not saying it's inaccurate because I'm sure there's art out there that depicts her in a more queenly manner, but I'm more used to her, I guess, being in commoner garb, I guess. So that's why I was a little confused, or it was made more confused by your point earlier, Crimson, about it being related to the chess game.
Yeah, and
Well,
there's
it
also.
could.
Go ahead, Springs.
I'm thinking it could be being a vision. It's like the afterlife or the heavenly version of Virgin Mary versus in the time of life Virgin Mary.
Okay, yeah, like I said, that's acceptable. I don't have money issue with the Virgin Mary being depicted as a queen, considering her relation to the prodigal son and her relation to that whole, well, Christianity as a whole. Yeah, it would make sense to me that there would be versions of her out there that are queenly. I was just curious, I guess, to about the choice, I suppose.
Yeah, that's not really set in stone. Joff's vision of actually being like time oriented characters or people versus just of modern time currently of his life of seeing things. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also the aspect of not necessarily every vision has to be a real vision.
That's
We
also
know
true.
his vision
Mia
of
said the devil painting the wheels and he
Yeah.
said that was a lie. So maybe this is him thinking it's Virgin Mary, and it could be someone completely different. Could be a queen of something, or
Yeah, it could be his
could just be a
interpretation of the
figment.
visions too. So
So there's kind of like a gray on what his visions really are.
probably for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I do think there's also the aspect of just where like the narrator's interpretation. So like he could just, like I said, he could have seen just a regular queen and their child, and then interpreted that as the Virgin Mary and Jesus.
yeah,
So on the initial chess on the beach, they cut away and he's fine. And I just wrote in my notes like, oh, I guess he won the chess game.
I wrote the same note.
And then, uh, and then obviously he didn't. And it does just wrap back around to what I said earlier. Of I don't understand why death took so long to play him.
With the cutaway at that point, I don't understand why they paused.
Yeah, I think that's answered by the end of the film because it shows that Death comes for a few moves and then he has to leave to go back to work, and then he comes back again to wrap it up and stuff like that. That's kind of the implication I get as to why they stopped, though it was a pretty hard cut. So I also thought, I'm like, oh, he just won, so that means they're gonna play again until Death wins. Is kind
I
of
will
how
say
what I thought I was gonna do.
if they were to cut any of their matches for continuation, the first one's the most fitting.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would want to tweak the first one, but I think the first one does serve as a good introduction. But I agree. I think it's not as integral to the story as the other ones are.
Yeah, I feel like if it was one in the middle, it would be confusing, I think, and if it was the last one, it would be dull.
I suppose. I guess I kind of got lost on the point you're making, Spix. What was
The point I'm
the?
making is the first one showing the question, like you and I both had, Crimson, of like, oh, I guess he won the game because Antonious is still alive and he's walking away. But actually, it was a pause in the game, which is like clarity of, oh, interesting. Okay, so they stopped. And then what Ryder said of like, Death had to leave to go do something, come back. Doing it at the first game, I think, is better than if they continued their game and say, 4 times in the second one, it's just a hard cut. It's like, oh, what occurred? And it's like, oh, maybe he left like the first one, but if the third one explains he has to leave again, then what's the choice of hard cutting the second one? Which could then go on to what you said, Crimson, of like time they had or script being rewritten 4 times, or they just didn't have it, so they just cut it out, or corrupt film, what have you. But I feel like it would be confusing in the middle. And then at the end, if it's like explained 3 times and we get to the fourth one and it just hard cuts to continue maybe in a Joff, it kind of feels dull to me of Antonius's story throughout the film if it's just stopped for Joff to explain in like an epilogue. So I think the first one's the most fitting for question to play with the story.
Okay.
I see. Okay, I think even I had misunderstood your point, so that cleared it up.
All in all, I guess a choice of editing.
Let's go with Ryder.
I will jump to the actor. The actor who quits and goes off on this affair, because this leads to a couple of the things. He's kind of comes across as like fodder. I mean this in the in a more like he's there for Death to kill eventually. He seems the most character like Death to kill person, I think.
The easiest to sacrifice or something.
Yeah, he came across as much more of a tool. I do think they work enough into his character to give him a personality. Just commenting on his overall execution as far as he goes. He did lead to some funny running through the woods that ended up right back at the caravan with all of them just standing there waiting around for him. So I found that amusing, even if I question logistics.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, man, unlucky that he came across them in the forest after like a day or something of
Yeah, and
not
I'm
seeing him.
surprised he was still around, to be honest with you. He didn't just run off to another town or whatever.
Yeah. My question is, um, care, I guess, or how not his importance, but how much I guess he just cared of the circus he had, or show, festival, whatever.
They do a good
So, yeah,
job of establishing his frustration. I think in his first scene, when he doesn't, where he's like mad that he has to hide behind the skull mask.
he's
True, but
not
he still decides to just leave out of lust. But
wrong. He had Lisa.
yeah, but was his intention to come back after a while and
I
apologize for it,
I don't.
or just full on leave?
I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, he wanted to go back to the festival. What was it called? The Saints Feast.
Saint Eleanor, Saint's Feast in Eleanor. Eleanor's the
Yeah,
city.
in Eleanor. Yeah, he wanted to go back to that, and that was after Lisa left. So I don't know if that was his intention the whole time, or because she's gone, he's not going to continue that. I mean, that would kind of explain why he's on that trail because he's on his way there, and he came across the group, but they were on
Well,
horseback, drawn
I guess
wagons.
that plays into the geography of the world then, because they're leaving the
Came up from the
town
front.
they came from, and he's coming towards them.
Yeah,
They don't
but
get up to meet himself,
kind
or
of
a
iffy.
fork in the road. But
Not enough to say his full motives are.
yeah, I mean, Silver Ton, when they catch up to him, for him to whip around blog or whatever the Smith's head because he's stupid.
I love that Squire was telling. I was just feeding him lines to say. I don't know. That cracked me up a little bit.
Yeah, John, the squire or whatever. What an interesting character. He has these like deep philosophical moments, and he also has these funny jabbing moments. He's got honor, but then he's got like a I don't care attitude about everything, especially in that village with the maid lady.
Yeah, that was a scene that made me
I could
go,
have done this to you,
yeah. I don't know if I like this guy.
but I don't like this form of love. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he definitely comes across
Um,
as very jaded. I think that's the
yeah,
intention.
definitely. But other than that blemish in his character, I do I like him in pretty much all the other aspects.
He looked a little like Ben McKenzie to me.
Had a familiar face. I don't know who
Yeah,
Ben McKenzie is, but maybe that's who I was thinking.
Ben McKenzie plays Jim Gordon in Gotham.
Oh, not the one I was thinking. I can see it.
I agree. Familiar face. Don't know where from.
I mean, I don't think I know him specifically, but just someone that looks like him. Yeah.
I do.
Let's go. Oh, do you want to continue?
Let's go with Ryder.
That's up to the
Is
host.
this a new point or continuing?
I think it's a new point.
Okay, we'll jump to strings first.
Oh boy. Um, when Death and Antonious are in the church, and Antonious is asking about God and the presence of Him, I couldn't quite get if Death has to answer truthfully to questions about knowledge he possesses, saying whether or not God is a thing, or if Death can choose to lie or deceit upon just word onto Antonious about what he can or wants to say to mortals.
That goes into the not really having a rule for death. I don't see a line to where he has to be honest with anybody that talks to him.
Just as I
Uh,
don't think he needs to lie necessarily either.
yeah, I mean, he kind of just
Because
has
there's,
fun with the psychological stuff, which to
yeah,
me
it
is
gets brought up
typically
later at another scene when Antonius asks, like, I cry out to, I don't know the line for line, but he's like, I cry out to God and no one responds, and Death just goes, yeah, there is no God.
and then
But
later
is
he
that
says
just,
he doesn't know what's after, which kind of
yeah,
implies he's saying don't know. There could be a god. There could not be a god.
It seems
So
like
I guess that could be a difference in answers, which could imply one of them's a lie.
or he's just again messing with him. One of the two.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, their whole chess game has been about tricking each other.
Yeah, I do like that I like how that. It's funny that the Crusader or Antonious just assumes that Death is a priest that's there and just starts spouting all this stuff. But I kind of enjoy that this is Death's way of getting back at him for not being honest about why he wants to play the chess game. Quote unquote his deeper motives or whatever. So
Yeah.
he's snooping in his own way to figure it out. So they're both playing off of each other.
I like the detail that this old chapel doesn't have any pews, because that's accurate.
There was something with this place. I didn't know if it was a continuity thing or not, but the cross that was in that chapel, church, whatever, was carried by one of the guys when they were chanting through the village.
The clergyman. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know if that was just a reused prop or if that was from that specific.
Well,
place.
it could be a historical reference because I know I don't know I know I had their names but I don't remember them. But the people who like whip themselves to kind of feel Jesus's pain as a sort of punishment to go along with the plague, they definitely did raid churches and take their crosses and stuff like that. So that could be what happened after they left.
Crimson, I do think it's the same cross, but I think it's also fitting in world that it is the same that's in that church.
Yeah, I don't have an issue either way. I didn't know if it was just a reused prop or if it was that specific one from that location.
It's probably a reused prop.
Both.
It's probably a reused prop. I took that as a more historical, I guess, reference with that. So even if it was a reused prop, they in it's being unintentional. They could have just echoed something in history. It happens, and it's known to happen every now and again.
I heard Springs with an up in there somewhere.
Oh, I just said both.
Oh. Misheard that. All right. Ryder, you can go to the point you were about to make earlier.
I did already. I was talking about the game that they had.
Oh, Zener.
Yeah. It was with the it was pretty much my point was going to be in the same scene that Springs was put in, so I just piggybacked off of him with that scene.
Then I will jump to Ravel, I guess is his name. The grave robber guy.
Totally sleazy, dude.
Yeah. I just found it weird that he followed them in the forest and didn't announce himself. Or if he didn't follow them and he just stumbled across them, then that's just convenient too.
I took
wasn't
it
a big
as
fan of that.
I go
It
with the
just felt
second bit.
shoehorned.
Yeah, I took it as the second bit that it just happened to come across him. Granted, I didn't know it was him. I just assumed that it was some random dude screaming that he was dying. So I felt more of the tragedy than the convenience, I guess, because I didn't notice it was the same person. But I definitely feel the convenience now.
Yes, I don't know when it clicked in me, but at a point of this movie, this whole film felt very much like a stage production, like a stage play.
I can agree with.
Not necessarily Shakespearean, but just
Yeah, there's
like location or set, and then reintroducing characters from beforehand, but also kind of keeping each scene small and contained.
Nothing too grand.
Yeah.
Except maybe, I guess, the ending shot, kind of a wider shot compared to everything else.
True, but you could still do that with like, puppeteering of the shadows over like a hill in the background.
Yeah, it wouldn't look
If
that
a
good,
stage.
but you could do
No.
that. Oh, on a stage, yeah, you could do that.
I don't know. It just felt like a stage to me, which is not a bad thing. It just kind of gave it a tone.
Yeah, I'll say it. I'll say it feels like that.
I did find an error. I might have more, but the first kind of play in the town square, and Jonas has this with this flute and this big, I don't know what to call it, chicken feathered hat or whatever. Upon the first peasant tossing fruit at him, the hat vanishes.
Yes, I saw that as well. I know I had another continuity error somewhere. I think it was with the somewhere when the jester's being antagonized in the tavern.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot going on in that scene. Poor
Yeah.
pig.
Oh yeah, yeah. Animal cruelty just fell on a pig.
Yeah, it did.
I do like the, I guess of the time. I mean, there's for what they have at hand of 57 Sweden. I'm not an expert, but just like the editing they can do of overlap, which was good with the film, of transparency onto two things. They did with the chessboard over the ocean. I think a couple other parts, and then just fading transitions. Um, but one thing that they added depth that I think was good for what they did was during the part where Jonas and Lisa are like flirting backstage, you continually hear the song of Joff and Mia on stage playing, which gives actual in-world depth to the situation at hand. Now, I don't know if the lyrics of the song were corresponding to what was being shown on screen, but I just thought it gave more than just one set area.
When I was researching, the song is like a religious hymn, so I don't know how relevant that would be with two people hooking up.
Well,
But
Lisa's married, so that's adultery. So
yeah, I guess more on the errors on the filmography is the smudge in the top corner. I'm sure Spriggs picked it up.
oh,
The part where they're on the hill at the end, the upper left corner. There's
yes.
this
Yes,
giant
yes. I got another one.
mouth
Uh,
part, and I'm sure that has to do with them quickly getting the shot ready for that cloud.
yeah. No, I
So,
caught another one at hour 1905. In the bottom kind of left center, there's something stuck on the lens, casting a shadow.
I
right,
noticed only the last one of the two.
your turn, Ryder.
Sure. Classic. Burn the witching. Burn the witches and blame them for the plague. I just thought it was funny that their their idea of solving the plague was mixing poop and blood together and spreading that everywhere, as if that's not going to cause
Oh yeah, real
disease.
smart.
Yeah, I mean they don't know any better, but it's
Like,
just it's such a classic like medieval blunder, it's just dark age blunder.
devil hates the smell,
Yeah.
as do I.
I on a more serious note in that same scene though, I do like that he's going around and asking if he directly asks the witch who can't speak, like, have you seen the devil and stuff like that, because he wants to. His whole journey is he wants assurances before death beats him in the chess game. So
Yeah.
Yeah, good scene. I didn't expect to see her come back after that initial scene with her. So that was kind of a neat little thing to string along. Could also be a convenience thing again of just
yeah,
they're finding everybody on this path that they've ever
yeah,
met.
I
Could be.
yeah, it's definitely supposed to be her. I would have preferred it to have been someone else, because it feels like they've made no progress on their journey at all. Like they just
They're
happen to.
just on the same area.
Yeah, because it feels like they're now circling back to a different village for some reason. Like they're going a different direction. I didn't. It made the world's geography a little bit bundled for me in terms of world building.
Nice of them to help though.
Yeah,
John pushing the car.
Yeah, to get information.
And initially, I thought she got poisoned by Antonious, and then he's like, she won't feel anything, and she seemed fine. Like, oh, okay, it's kind of like a weird paralyzing agent or something. And then I guess she ended up dying. It looked like she stopped breathing when they left.
I mean, if she didn't pass out, the fire was gonna kill her anyway. So
Yeah, I
so
took
his
it that
solution was just to kill her before the fire.
she did die because then we see death, and I just figured anytime someone dies, death is around. Like when the grave robber died, next part with Antonious was with death. So
yeah.
But on the beach, no one died.
One of the what's it called? One of the things I liked about that. One of the other things I liked about that scene is that the other knights got concerned with Antonius' behavior. They come up behind. This is after he gives her the medicine to kind of take the pain away. Some of them come up with him, their swords drawn, like is seeing if he's gonna stand in their way. And then he moves and they sheath their swords. It was one of those little unspoken things that they did that I actually quite appreciated because they don't really know these strangers, so they're and obviously he's spending a lot of time around the witch.
yeah,
Like it was generous of them, really.
Yeah.
Let the witch converse with somebody. She
I'm
could
just
have
happy it didn't have a
brainwashed.
connection to Salem. Good for
That
me.
makes you happy, right, Spranks? You hate
A
that.
bit, yeah.
It'd be
One of my
really
biggest
weird
pet
if they
peeves.
it'd be really
Get
weird if they
peace.
connected it to Salem in the night in the dark ages of in
We never know. Her last name could have been Salem for all we know. I don't know.
It's possible. We don't get a last name confirmed, so
yeah. If they had
Or
directly
first
connected
name.
it to the Salem witch trials, I would have taken an issue.
I'm just going to talk about the. I just wrote her as maid in the notes, but that
The
was
housemaid.
only
Housemaid.
the housemaid. I I don't feel like she needs to be
What a
this woman
character.
at all.
Yeah.
Oh,
At all.
interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. I saw her placement in her well, I guess second to last scene when they're all around the table and they all see death.
yeah. Her
And she
first
says,
line.
finally. Yeah.
It
It
is
made me
finished.
question, has she been plagued this whole time or waiting to die? And she's the cause of people dying by seeing death there. I don't think there's enough stated or anything that she was like a follower of death or like the witch and saw the devil, what have you, to bring sacrifices or anything like that of a connection from the witch to her. But I do think her being the one to speak to death upon all of them seeing him, which was also very interesting that they all heard the knock on the door and John said no one, which kind of implied that John's either A, didn't see anyone or saw death and doesn't want to talk to anyone about it. But kind of invited him in that sense for all of them to see, which is also interesting that they all, I guess, saw him, even though only 5 of the 6 died.
John didn't see him at the door. Then maybe he was the survivor. But he does kind of acknowledge it later when talking.
Yeah, they're all staring at the wall. Not one of them is like, "What are you all looking at?"
Yeah, I don't know. Rules with death blurred. There aren't any.
Well, there's some, but they're
Nothing
wishy-washy.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a
We
death
can
is
try
a
to attribute rules,
death is
but there's
definitely
nothing solid.
a death is definitely a softcore magic system. Um, uh, housemaid. I that's kind of what you were saying. This Springs kind of made me think that she was infected the whole time. That's with that scene, and I agree. There's nothing really supporting that. I don't know if I hate her placement. I think she's very much a quiet observer to everything else that's going on. So I think seeing her react to stuff would have been nice. At least more so than wanting to bring the infected person water.
She
But
Well, bring the
doesn't
one
really
who
have
was
much
going to
of a
kill her.
character. Yeah,
yeah,
she doesn't have much of a character. Her as a character in air quotes don't impact any of the other characters. There's no conversations where they grow or anything. She doesn't help on the journey by pointing out things.
no, we learned stuff about
It's just
the squire,
there.
but
Which stuff? Oh, I mean you mean him saying I could do this to you?
Yeah, that says
Yeah,
something about him because it says that he's done it before potentially when he was
yeah, but
crusading, and,
Interesting.
past
raping and
that,
pillaging.
he didn't have to take her. He could have just left her, and we still would have learned that knowledge of him.
Interesting. I made a really weird connection of characters in my head of parallel to this, and I don't know if you'll follow. But is the housemaid equivalent to Lewis and Clark in Night at the Museum, where there are characters that they have very quiet speaking lines, but John is to Sacagawea as a connected of the two characters to one another, and are characters of both films, but the presence of connection between the characters
If I
of
remember,
Sacagawea to Lewis and Clark and then John's to the housemaid are the only connections.
if we're
The
talking,
thing is,
then
the housemaid is a companion on the journey. Lewis and Clark are just there to give a reason for her to exist in the museum. They aren't characters in it. They're just a reason for the exhibit to be there. So we get Sacagawea.
Yeah, but they could have had it without Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark were added there for humor effect, but then again, that's talking about that
I'd
movie.
consider them
But
non-characters, to be honest with you. I'd
No,
say
yeah, they're not characters. They're like, it's weird to have a Sacagawea exhibit without Lewis and Clark. That doesn't.
Yeah.
That's her whole story, is their involvement in her life. So they're kind of just there to give reason for her to be in the museum, which then makes her character relevant to the story. Blah blah blah. This, she's not really relevant to the journey. If we did the whole she was infected the whole time and got the group infected, and that's why they all got taken by death at the same time, that would be good. But they don't portray her as like dying or getting blisters, or there's
that's
nothing
true.
showing she's infected.
But I would have more cause onto her being the reason for everyone's death versus Antonious, who's been with death the whole time, that he's going to die. Because he also hasn't shown any symptoms, but he has been around the group. But it would put in more of Antonious's encounter with Mia and Joff, why they are safe at the end, where the housemaid had no connection with the two of them.
I mean, they were still on the caravan together. They were still in like the convoy.
True, but Antonius was drinking out of the bowl of milk that they were all drinking out of. They're still living, so I don't know. I think it plays a little more into the idea that the housemaid is plagued versus Antonius, but
I like the idea if she was. I don't think they built it.
no,
They didn't show her feeling sick or anything.
no, there was no symptoms shown. The only thing I had, as I brought up, was her one and only line saying "finally," as if wishing to die, or the bringer of death herself to bring him here, or something like that.
Well, she smiled and said, "It is finished." That was her exact line. It is finished.
True, but at the time of taking place, that could mean, glad you're here, or her work is finished if it was to get sacrifices. But
I don't really see that angle, but
no, I didn't see that because there's just word of the devil and no actual presence of the devil,
I
like
think
even a Joff vision.
for at least for me, what I read into a lot of her is she recognizes death because as far as I can tell, her entire village is dead.
look like it.
So I feel like being around all of that for so long, she might know thematically she knows what death looks like. I don't know literally in the story if she knew what death looks like, but she could have heard like someone's dying like words and they describe what death looked like to her, and that's how she's able to recognize him. So I feel like I don't know. The whole village dying, I think, is very informative as to who she is. I do think she's worthwhile to at least the Squire's character. I of the group, I do think she's the weakest of the characters. I would like some more to be. I would like more to be expanded on whether she was the one to get everyone infected and stuff like that. I think would have helped.
Weaker than Antonius's wife.
Um,
Hmm.
she
Ooh, got
gives
you
him
questioning.
She gives him a bit of a
Sorry, I
driving
didn't. I didn't
force.
really consider her as a part of the group because she's not there until the end. So no, I
Yeah,
wasn't really
I mean,
considering her
it's
in that
mentioned
name.
that that he had a lover and stuff.
Yeah.
And
It was
I
a bit
think
of a
she
surprise.
has. I think she has more impact. I wasn't surprised to see her. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I thought
Yeah.
she was dead or something.
Well, when they're going through the castle, I just went, someone lit all these lights. Someone's got to be around here.
Yeah. I would say that Antonius' wife has more of an impact, and it's more important for us because we've been with Antonius more in the film than we have been with the housemaid. So we know more, I guess, about. He talks about his wife a couple times, so we know that she exists. Um, yeah.
That's
Uh,
true. And then from the words of John's of like how long the crusade has been. So how long Antonius has been away from his wife
mhm.
by connecting.
So I pitch the maid being removable, and the one change that we try to adhere is it's just a different woman, and she stays in the village.
What do you mean stays in the village?
He doesn't take her on the journey.
Oh, just
He
some
does the
lady that he
whole "I could
saves?
do this to you," and then we have the character
Instead
stuff
of
of him.
offering her to be a housemaid, he just leaves her there.
Yeah,
So that takes away the what would you do to the scene of the grave robber coming up to their camp? Dying.
they watch him die. I mean, we don't need a person in the group to offer water. That's not something that's required.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. Because in the times of darkness of all this, of like death and the plague and how it's spreading and everyone dying and word getting out, and especially seeing her whole village or farm dying from the hands of either grave robber or other pillagers, her forgiveness and redemption onto the grave robber to offer him water, recognizing that this was someone who was going to die, and if not for John's, could have, um, to offer it to him. It also plays onto John's to stop her and saying good intention, or what do you say? Forget his lines too, but it's like, listen, his
There's
death
no
is
point in
inevitable, kind of thing. So it shows onto like John's character, her character. I think nothing really on the grave robber other than begging upon his life, and he's afraid to die, being a scoundrel. But I don't know, just kind of like in the darkness of death and everything, there's still like someone who has light, whatever, which kind of plays into that stage performance thing of different tone, like kind of like a Grave of Wrath or a um, Hamlet little feel.
Well, I feel like the jester guy is kind of the light in the dark. He always keeps his lighthearted nature. Um, him and Mia as a duo, I feel like kind of the light that you're trying to talk about.
Not the sense I mean. He's comedic and he's uplifting in it, but there's no nourishment to the plague. Like the grave robber, if that was Joff going over and it's like, hey, smile, death is a new adventure or something, I don't the whole tone would be different. Or if he's saying him a song as he's screaming and dying, tone would be different.
Yep, that would be a different tone.
Overall, I guess a big question is, does the film need this scene of the housemaid to get to this point because of the forgiveness onto the grave robber? How impactful is that to the overarching movie? Because it does stand out as a difference.
With how you phrased it there, I don't think it is.
I think I'm 50-50 on it.
Because we've every single character we've ever removed. I'm gonna put an asterisk because I don't remember every single one, but at least a good chunk. Um, something is sacrificed when deleting a character, I mean, we deleted the bad guys in Airbud.
That was the big one.
There is a void there that that does
Yeah,
change.
but we also took out
So
the dad from Big, and he did nothing.
yeah, so that's why I added the asterisks. We also got rid of what's her face from Flight of the Navigator, who helped him escape and stuff. I mean, we leave. There are things that are missed because of a removal, but does the movie need the stuff that gets removed? In this instance, I don't think this film needs it.
What are you thinking,
Ryder, you've
Ryder?
been pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been balancing the ideas of I've been listening to both of you, so I'm just trying to balance that what you guys are saying in my head and trying to rationalize how I think about all of this. I think I've finally settled on she's removable objectively, but I do like what she adds to the story subjectively in terms of more of the, I guess, the thematic elements. It allows characters, it allows the squire to voice more of his perspective on the world, and it allows it adds a little more tension to that the man screaming and dying from the plague scene with her wanting to go help and her being kind of held back from doing so. There is a very distinct taste that preventing somebody from helping somebody else leaves in your audience. And I think I really like those a lot, but I don't think they're necessary objectively for the story. So I'm for removal, but it's not one I'd be comfortable with completely, I guess, because I do like a lot of the thematic elements she adds to the story.
Sounds like you're kind of like me on the 50-50, seeing it both ways.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can understand objectively that she could be removable. I don't I think I'm siding on that. So it's I want her here, but I recognize objectively she has no value. It's the same thing where I approach with Daphne in the movie she was removed in. Of course, I want Daphne here. However,
You want a
objectively
Daphne that
speaking,
does something.
yeah, yeah, and while I think she does add quite a bit thematically, I do think she's removable objectively. So that would be my, I guess, my full take on her.
Well, it has to be unanimous. So Sprinks, you've got to decide.
I think my decision is, even how weak and low she is, I think her scene, not the one where she gets sexually assaulted by Johns, and the questionable one at the end of her saying one line, but the one that we brought up of John stopping her from giving the water to the dying grave robber, I think is enough for me to say to keep her in, because the tonal change of that, even though it's nurturing and forgiveness onto a wrongdoer, it's also hopelessness because of John's, and also John's character via the usage of the housemaid, and no one else in their company I think would do such a thing for the grave robber, and the most is the connection from the grave robber to her.
Yeah, like I said, that's the real hard scene for me when it comes to wanting to remove her, because I I can't think of any. No, I don't think any other character would be willing to lend a hand outside of
No.
the woman who lost her entire village. She probably had been doing that for months before our two crusaders took her away. That's me inferring, but that's the likely scenario.
Yeah, so even though it's close for me, I think I'm leaning more of keep it in because of the impact of that.
All right, maid stays. That was a me point. Let's go with the Sprinks.
At 42:10, kind of when all the clergymen are leaving the village on their like little march, the first fade of the crowd I think is decent and fine. The second one is a bit choppy because the camera movement is changed, so it doesn't get pulled off quite as well for the second fade.
I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it.
It's kind of the large group of them, and then it fades to maybe like the few stragglers at the end, and then the last fade is just empty field. But the empty field is not lined up to where the stragglers at the end of the road were for them to fade seamlessly the whole scene fades and moves.
Yeah, I just don't remember it. I remember the transitions being pretty decent throughout. The ones that kind of caught me off guard were the fade to whites.
The
Like I'm
fade to
not
the
used to
holiness.
seeing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because I think there was like 2 or 3 of those where it was a fade to a white, not the cross fade because they did a lot of that. Writer.
I'll jump to a simple one since we spent a lot of time talking about removable characters. It was really nice to see an accurate medieval tavern. The idea that there's fire pit where people kind of sit around it, and then it has a very community feeling. Just before, obviously, they interrupted with wanting to just bully the shit out of the jester. I do very. It's a short little design thing, but I really appreciate seeing an accurate medieval tavern.
Yeah, it looks like slop. I mean, there's even a pig running around. Yeah. Looks good. The only thing that kind of took me out of it is when everybody immediately
Yeah,
looked at him. When
everybody
he's
was
like the
ready to
actor.
pounce, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Even before the grave robbers screaming to everybody, just when like the word actor is dropped, they all like turn to look.
Yeah.
Oh, actor.
That
The only read I have for that is that that's the clergyman's work. Like that's what the church did. They scared everyone into hating. Not pleasure is not the right word, but like they into like uh hating a sin that an actor can represent. And obviously he's being his coworkers being accused of adultery, and because they're told that their sins are what's causing the plague, I do think there's room for the entire village to just eventually get in the mob mentality. It just happens instantaneously is my problem.
yes, which adds to the comedic beat a bit of everyone going silent for Joff. My little issue was prior, which I think is just in time for the film, but doesn't work in a way, is the first introduction of the table of the people talking about the plague and how it's spreading and how Judgment Day is becoming Judgment Night. Upon them talking, the tavern goes quiet.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
And
that's
I
definitely
wouldn't say that's,
kind of a classic.
yeah, that isn't the tavern listening in on them
that's just the
because
for
they've
the
gone all
audience.
nuts.
That's the editing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just that the sound design to hear what they're saying, but there's still no background like silent fully or anything of noise in the background. It's just dead silent in the tavern, which I saw as a nitpick.
Um, sure, yeah, you can have that as a nitpick. I think you brought up that type of thing before. I find it fine because it is for the audience sake. I don't see that as an in-universe. Everyone shut their traps to or anything. So that's my stance on that.
To me, it stands out a little more so because, as we've said, it comes up after of the jaw factor thing, where then it does go silent. So it is known to occur because that's played off like, yeah, that they said the actor and the tavern went quiet.
Yeah, I mean they did go quiet and look at him. See. There was a bit more dynamic camera work in this than I was expecting for a
From a
50s film. I mean,
1957. Yeah.
yeah, not necessarily in the way the camera's moving, but just the way they're utilizing it. There was several like zooms on dramatic moments, not like drastic zooms like Psycho or anything, but uh, like when John closed the door on the grave robber in the village, there was like a zoom there to emphasize the moment, um, like a zoom out, and then there was another. I don't know where it is on my notes, but there was another
There's
one
a,
of a zoom in that they did on a to emphasize a scene that I
there's a zoom
recall.
out of a realization of Antonious after I think doing a round of chess. There was a pan shot of impact of the scene you were just talking about, Crimson, of John's taking the grave robber and putting him against the wall, and the camera stops when he hits the wall. So
It was pretty good film work in this, especially for the era. Based off my limited experience with the era. I haven't seen too many 50s
Whoa! Be careful. This ain't no. What we watched for the 50s?
Was after
Well, it's after Casablanca. Yeah.
I know we both went to that.
Sound of Music was 60s.
That was see.
Was it?
Man, it must have been real
12
impactful.
Angry Men. 12 Angry Men.
Oh, 12 Angry Men. This is no 12 Angry Men.
Oh man.
Yeah, there was no funny old people shots. That was.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Well,
They
there
did
was
have
the
a shot
funny.
of them all.
The
Like
Jonas screaming on the tree
parallel.
was pretty funny.
That
that
that's
was-
true. Not saying there wasn't funny in the film. It's just there was
No,
no.
that was not supposed to be funny.
Remember, this is a horror film. Found that audience.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's an abstract horror for sure. I can definitely lean into that. It's definitely not like gory, our modern take on horror.
Yeah.
It's
This
not
was
suspense
before the days
either.
of Halloween.
This is like heavily into the fear of the unknown and just the general fear of death that we all have, and somehow our suspension of
did-
disbelief still allows us to get laundry done.
When did Hancock's I said Hancock. The Birds.
I think that was a 50s movie. Birds.
Ooh, that was 63. Psycho was
Yeah.
60.
This
So.
this paved for those horror films. Paved the path. No, I'm curious what horror films came out before this.
When did The Phantasm come out?
That old. What a movie to get dropped in here.
Sorry. I just had to.
Let's go with the writer point.
I'll talk about probably my favorite scene, which is Antonious, Mia, the jester, all like meeting for the first time and then sharing lunch together, and then obviously the squire comes with the housemaid later on, and they all get together and have kind of a fun chat. It definitely feels like how I describe it in like this is the campfire scene, but two, this is also the with all the tension and darkness in the world, this kind of feels like a breath of fresh air almost. Like you get, for me, that's where I understood what the point of this film was. Kind of is like this is them taking a break from all the harsh realities of the world and just being good people to strangers and stuff like that, and getting that they're getting to share their stories with each other, share their songs with each other. It's very, very much a like yeah, I
It's
just
like
really,
the around the campfire scenes that you always talk about, like in
yeah, it's almost like I
get
said
to
that
know your group.
already.
I was distracted.
Man, around the campfire scenes. Like I Love You, Beth Cooper. Man.
They did have a campfire scene. Yeah.
They did.
Chips too.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's definitely I think one of my favorite scenes because I think that's where I understood like one of the points of the story is that it's kind of on people to kind of help lift each other up and kind of keep the darkness at bay, as it were. Not to quote Gandalf or anything, but good scene. I liked it. Lot rich with characters and playing off of each other, and also just heavily into the theme. One of the thematic aspects of the film I enjoyed.
Solid. Sprinks, you're up.
That's me. Let's see. So a detail I caught that I liked was the grave robber stole words as well.
Yes.
Upon where he sees Joff in the tavern, he brings up what John's told him back at the village of perhaps we should mark up your face like they do with petty scoundrels of your kind.
Yep.
Or at least English translated, but
Yeah, he's reusing the words that the squire gave him. Yeah.
yeah. So just another
Nothing like
sense of thievery.
I suppose he stole his line. Kind of funny.
I did.
Go ahead, Ryder.
Yeah, I guess another thing I was just thinking about right now. As much as I loved that being my favorite scene, the one I just talked about, but wouldn't the jester have seen death then? Like right afterwards when he goes off to play?
If he looked
Well,
over there, I guess.
yeah.
I don't know.
It also
Did we see him look over there?
it falls into also his visions if they're certain time or ability, or if it's an all-out time he can, kind of like ghost vision or something like Sixth Sense or Paranorman.
Mm-hmm.
Like if anytime he looks over and sees death, he can see death, or at certain points,
When death is being
his
active,
vision kicks in.
Yeah. Like because death took the black plague guy,
Yeah.
he would be quote unquote active. So that's why he was able to see him then. Okay. I don't know how. It's not a big issue. It's just kind of like a questioning because they don't show him looking that way, but it's kind of obvious where they are sitting that they would be easy to spot. So convenience, I guess that I guess his visions don't work.
Yeah.
Not a huge issue, just a nitpick.
Did either of you find it a little odd that when Joff comes back after being quote unquote exhausted from the tavern, he doesn't question why Antonius is here with his wife and child?
I don't think he cared, to be honest. He was just happy to see his wife.
Okay.
I was confused at the moment because I thought he was already there with her, like in the wagon or something. But then we see him run up, like right from the tavern. Like, oh, okay. So it was kind of coinciding, overlapping time. And I would normally say yes, but he does seem like a kind of just kind-hearted kind of guy.
Like he doesn't make any
Like
assumptions, and
there.
like
No.
there's clearly a lot of love between him and Mia.
Oh yeah. Relationship goals.
Honestly. Well, what more could you want? You want to live a happy life avoiding death.
Yeah. Yeah,
I will
was a
say,
little
unless it
worried.
was, oh,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, unless it was a translation error, Mia saying those strawberries were huge was a lie.
Those were tiny strawberries. I thought they were just berries.
They look like blueberries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just thought they were berries. I will say this though, we strawberries were definitely smaller back in the day. We used a lot of genetic breeding and modification over the years to crossbreed, specifically as for bigger strawberries that we can eat regularly as a species. But that's very, very.
I just don't know if those would count as big even for the time.
Yeah, I think I just heard berries, but if it's strawberries, then yeah, I guess they technically
She's
have
like,
a bit
these
of an
are
issue.
big strawberries I picked, and I went, what the heck is a normal looking strawberry?
That's what Pinky now.
The sign of the raspberry, obviously.
What was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, them running away from death while the chess game was happening in the woods. I was a little worried that that's what death wanted to happen, and they were gonna like crash or something.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the
Especially during the
tension.
thunderstorm that was happening. So I think they did a good
Yes.
job on the expectations of events there.
Yeah, I'd like that. Um, it kind of plays off that like Antonius is trying to distract Death from noticing that they're leaving.
Yeah, because we keep seeing shots of him looking back towards them.
Yeah, good job on I guess raising the tension, because they would be the most innocent people, quote unquote, that we would feel I guess the most sorry for if they were to die.
He's an actor. He lies for a living.
Yes, his whole setup to his death of Jonas felt to me very much like a Shakespearean comedy. I'll say Abbott and Costello. That is not it. Who are the two in Hamlet? Two background guys who got their own play.
It's not
Oh,
happening. Oh yeah. um, I have no idea.
Oh, it's gonna bother me. I can feel my
No,
my
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet.
language art. I
No.
can feel my
Othello.
No.
I can feel my
That's fine.
language arts teacher creeping up right now.
Yeah, my head's just going through all these things like Waiting for Godot, not it. Gilgamesh, not it. But gosh, I
Uh,
can't remember their anyway.
I think it's Rosencrantz. Okay, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
And Guildenstern,
Guildenstern.
that's it.
Yes.
That's it. Yes, it felt like that kind of thing of humor where it's like Plug was going to kill Jonas, and then he talks his way out of it, and then so he doesn't die by his hands, and then kills himself through acting, but isn't dead, and then death comes by and actually kills him.
Yeah. One of the things about the fake death part is I like that it's one of the more subtle things that happens in the scene. Not really subtle, but you can see that the jester explains to the squire, like because they've been talking about to each other about the scene, making commentary on what's going on to each other the whole time and explaining bits. So like the squire is explaining bits like what the woman's going to say, and the jester is talking about what's going to happen afterwards. But that conversation continues here in whispers, where I presume the jester told the squire that he's faking his death because it's a stage knife. We can see him whisper into the squire's ear as they're watching him dramatically die, as they're watching the actor dramatically die.
Oh, yeah.
It's neat little. It's a neat little bit of the show that I like because for me, I always love it when characters are still playing their part in the background. It's one of the big reasons I enjoy a lot of uh it's one of the big reasons I enjoy like a lot of the more expansive like epic stories that have characters just in the back doing their thing. Like if you're walking through, easiest thing is the Mos Eisley Cantina. That'd be the easiest one to pick out. Is everyone's doing their own thing in there, so there's still everything's in constant motion. Everyone's quote unquote in character in the background doing their thing. And obviously the difference between that and this is these are major characters doing it, but I appreciate the fact that they're still playing their part in character in the background, even though if they're not the
Yes.
focus of the scene.
I do like what was it, Joff's line, I think. He's dead, totally enormously dead, the deadliest actor I've ever seen.
Yep, he sold that thing. Let's see. I'll jump to the painter, I guess. That one kind of stands out as it's more for like world building stuff, the plague and
Yeah.
what the clergymen are doing. So there's a reason for it, but it kind of just feel like a tool moment, not really something. I don't know.
Yeah, I do like how it ends with them painting the squire's like profile on it, like to give him a bit of an art piece. I do like how it ends, but I think I would have preferred to see a little bit more than just beyond the tool aspect. Get a little more of their characters in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if we saw him at the witch burning or something. I don't know if I really would need him to be back, but it just feels light. I guess it's not something I would remove. It just feels light. Sprinks, you can go next.
Yeah, looking through my notes. Where is Antonious keeping his chess set?
It's a weird chess set. I mean, we see him in the
It's a pretty
beginning.
decent size.
We see him laying out on the beach, presumed dead, with a chessboard set up already, and then we realize he's alive. And then Death's like, "Oh, I'm here. I'm gonna play a game." And yeah, we don't see him with a giant bag. It's not a foldable chessboard.
I'm just gonna infer
Like I
that
was,
he's in his saddlebag on his horse. To be honest with you,
that's what I was thinking. But then there's points where he's not around his horse.
Well, it's obviously his Hermione Granger bag.
Oh,
You didn't take that into account, did you?
no, I did not. A bag of holding.
Yeah, sure, bag of holding. Go with a rider.
I guess jump to the clergy coming through, where they come in and start like fear shaming the crowd, and they're putting out the crowd and make assumptions about them, but the idea, the fear tactics over the plague, it works. And I guess I appreciated this kind of homage to history because this would have been happening around the time of the Black Plague. Obviously, it's heavily censored, being 1937 and not as gory, but um, they came and ruined like the play that the actors and jesters were putting on, and they didn't really pick up the music and stuff right afterwards. As soon as as they walk out, so it definitely ruined the mood of the party. I think I guess I like the homage to history and how terrifying I guess that would be for all these people, which is what I guess the point of that scene is.
You're all gonna die. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, real uplifting after for interrupting a performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what
Though the
happened.
performance was about I forget the lyric, the black bean or something. It was about like the devil or death
The
itself.
the black one, dark one.
The dark one, the black one.
They,
Something like that.
they say the dark one, which
It was a song about death.
yeah, I inferred it to mean something close to death. Yeah.
Dark one on the shore. That's the line.
Yeah.
Dark
Also, real tongue-in-cheek move for Death getting the black piece in chess.
Yes, I mean even he pointed it out. How appropriate. It's by design.
Do you two think Antonious knocking the pieces over with his elbow was intentional
Yes.
or accidental?
I think that was him buying time for them to get away.
Yeah, I think that was him buying time to him to get away. Get Death to focus on remembering where the pieces were instead of the fact that they were leaving.
Okay.
Is that what you thought? Or?
I couldn't tell. Really? I didn't seem like Antonius was taking into account of Joff and Mia leaving about the decision, but also Joff and Mia leaving felt like to me just the two of them and Mikkel, their baby, and not John's or the house or housemaid Lisa or Plog or any like they weren't in a conversation. So it felt like Joff was just stealing the wagon and leaving. And I was questioning where are the other four people?
Well, they're not stealing the wagon. The wagon is theirs.
It is that way. But I had the same thoughts, Franks, because I was like, "Where is everybody?" When we cut to, it's just them in the wagon during the thunderstorm.
Yeah.
So they were just not in the wagon.
Or around to notice it leaving. Right? Like there's no conversation of them talking to them. And then there's no like afterthought, like after the chess game or whatever, them coming up to Antonius asking. I don't know. That just seemed kind of like a context out.
They are still strangers. They've had moments where they've sat down and talked, but they've only known each other for a couple days, from what it looks like, anyways. We don't get a really solid timeline on this journey to the castle,
but still, I think John's whether talking to Joff about why they're leaving, or after they left, go talk to Antonius of where they went.
Yeah, the where they went thing would I think be more like why isn't that there?
Yeah, because it seems like the other four of them don't care, or just we have no perspective on them of their feelings about Joff and Mia leaving.
I agree. I would kind of like that if at the castle or something. They're like, would have been nice to see if they made it here or something, right?
But they're like, saved us a couple hours if we had that wagon.
Yeah, something to that effect would be nice. To get it back to your point, Sprinks, of what him knocking over the chess set. If he's not buying the time, the other interpretation that's easy for me is just he's trying to buy himself time. They're trying to see if he can get Death to reset the game, maybe.
Well, he does know that the game is essentially over, because when Death fixes it, he's like, all right, next turn is checkmate. See you next time. So sure he saw that the game is pretty much over.
Could be, yeah. Getting to the end.
Yeah, so it would just be him trying to
Cheating
just
instead of trickery.
yeah. He's getting desperate because death is close.
Yeah.
I do feel a little robbed by the chess game not really being finished. Because that's the scene. Death's like, all right, you're going to be checkmated next turn. And
Yeah.
then we kind of just leave.
You need
leave
to
the
you
scene.
need to hear him say, "Does the art of domestic horticulture mean anything to you?"
Anything.
Crimson
Anything.
just
Like
wanted the
knocking,
music.
knocking over the king. Yeah. But it kind of felt a little lackluster there because I was expecting it to happen again, like the last
You would
chess match where
yeah, like
he
death comes with it,
definitively
sets it
wins.
up on the table for them to make the last two moves before like the film closes
Yeah,
out. That would be
Yeah.
that's what I thought was going to happen. But then that doesn't happen. He just shows up at the castle, like, all right, time for you guys to go.
Nah,
Like,
Crimson,
oh,
just go watch the after credit scene to Last Stand again.
I do think that's funny. I do think they uh, have enough to convey that there was no need to continue with it being like only one move left to checkmate. It would have been nice to see it, have them one more direct conversation with each other, but they didn't. They did good enough, I think. I don't know if I feel robbed. I would have liked to see it, but
something built through the movie. It's a constant. Um, it's a character-driven thing. He doesn't want to die. He wants to know what happens next. He didn't get the answers he was looking for. So them just like, all right, you lose in the next turn, and then they cut away, and then he just dies later. It does kind of feel like they didn't fully elaborate on the concept.
I would disagree. I think the point of death is that it's inevitable. So you know you're going to die with your quote unquote. You know you're going to die after your next move. So it would be hard to inject a scene with that with how the film is structured as it is. I agree I'd want it, but I think what we have is a little bit stronger than them having to stop the realization that death is here for a single chess move that we are already going to see coming. That was already hinted at.
Well,
Would have
either
been
I'd want them to see the game end in the forest, which would be the preferable one, because yeah, with how they set up the ending at the castle, it would just feel like a shoehorned in thing. It wouldn't feel naturally placed. Uh, well, yeah, in the forest, you're gonna lose, and then that's it.
Oh, so like they finished
Yeah,
the game in the forest is what you mean?
that would be nice.
Okay, I could be on
I
board with
don't
that
think
then.
there's a way. I don't think there's a natural way of fitting it into the castle scene.
I think to add to the horror aspect, if they all looked at Death and Death just said checkmate.
Yeah, or if he's holding the king piece or something. I don't know. It didn't feel fully finished. The concept of the chess game.
If he walked in and he just held up a like he didn't say anything else, everyone got all their lines of dialogue out. I don't even need him to say checkmate. I could just have him just holding the piece in his hand. Because then, they're that turns into death dancing. They're dancing for death, uh, thematically at the end.
Yeah. Or you mean holding Antonious' queen? Or I guess,
His king.
yeah, one with the modern take of chess.
Oh well,
His
yeah.
king.
Yeah.
Still need to get the king to win. Just the queen isn't an important piece in back then. They framed it as if I got your queen, you stand no chance now.
Yeah.
Which back then the queen was kind of just the king, where it just moved in one spot. So yeah, I guess that's my point. Let's go with the Spriggs point.
Okay, I will say I'm running a little dry here.
Same.
I can understand how it occurred, but it did feel odd that Joff and Mia went to the back of the wagon during the thunderstorm in a forest to take cover, and then it kind of just cuts to them by the oceanside cliff. I guess it can
suppose.
play that the horse went on its own path to get them there, but it did feel a little teleporty.
Yeah, I can agree. It's a little teleporty because when they get out of it, it doesn't feel like the storm's been over for a while and they moved there, it does feel like it's like, oh, look at the area now that the storm's over type deal.
Yeah.
So I can agree with that little teleporty feeling.
Yeah. I can only agree with that because they definitely, it feels like the teleporter. I can assume the horse was scared and they just didn't tie the horse down anywhere. But yeah, it's bad on them for not doing that.
Ryder, you can go next and I guess give a vibe on how much you got left.
I can scrape together a couple more if we can, if you want to keep going. Um, I will jump to. Uh, I think I'll jump back to the smithy interrogating um, our jester character, Joff. I think it would have been because he just kind of comes out of nowhere. I think it would have been a little bit stronger if he came from talking to another table behind him before he joined the table with our jester. Um, because it kind of feels like he just picked him randomly out of the tavern.
I suppose, yeah, kind of did feel that way.
Okay.
Sounded like a tepid, okay, Sphinx. You want to elaborate more?
No, I get that makes sense. It's just the context of the characters of what's important to be played on screen, of just singling out like Plog to Joff to get the thing about, because he didn't even know he was an actor until grave robber Bravel or whatever his name is brought it up. So he's just asking, but he's fixated on Joff, I guess, in his drunken stupor about it. But
I honestly I
disjointed
took
enhancement.
yeah I took that as him being more wanting to gain some of the power he lost back because of his run-in with the squire. So he's feeling like he needs to be a man and shake somebody down properly and make him dance, as it were.
Yeah, he did take an ego blow, I suppose.
I do like that there's no hesitation on the squire when he runs into him again, though. It's like, oh,
Oh
hey,
yeah,
it's
he just
you.
straight to business.
Yeah, straight to
Remember what
business.
I
And
said?
then I love the jester immediately just escapes too. Like he knows he's in over his head now.
Took the bracelet and dipped. I guess the point I have. We talked about how cool it would be if the maid carried the plague, or pretty much that. But we don't have anything solid for that. So my question is, if it's not the plague thing, which they don't really show as being the thing, what killed them at the castle? Do you think it's just death killing them, kind of like him cutting down the tree and he like slit them with a scythe, or something else going on? What do you guys think happened at the castle?
If not the plague, I think then death just killing him.
I mean, I I don't know how to get spectacular with. You can get spectacular with the death, maybe, but I think the safe assumption is just death killed them if the plague didn't.
Okay, yeah. The
I
other
mean,
thing
we
I was
see
thinking
him physically cutting down a tree to kill somebody, so I guess it's not that big of a leap for me to assume that he killed them.
yeah, because they were talking about like the angels and like fire to the grass and a bunch of other stuff. And we had a lightning storm, so I was thinking, okay, maybe there was a fire involved. We see the maid look out the window and light starts emitting out of it. So like, okay, did the exterior catch fire? I don't know. And they talked about like a shooting star, and I'm like, okay, did a meteor hit the castle? All of which isn't really backed by anything visually, but those were avenues I saw.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Geez, what do I have left? Because I feel like everything's kind of already been touched on. I think I'm actually fresh out.
Ryder, you're up.
All right. I guess this will be my last one. I the Smithy's wife disappears from the group for a fair bit while they're walking through the forest.
I suppose. I mean,
Like
she kind
Lisa
of.
is just gone.
Yeah. She doesn't reappear until they're in the forest, like when Antonious is setting up his chessboard to have his last game with death, or last part of his game. She doesn't really appear until that scene again.
I mean, she's certainly pushed to the back once. What's his face died. That's for sure.
She was present during the grave robber dying scene.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Oh,
Like she
okay, I
doesn't.
thought the
She's gone from the group up until that point. Like you can see there are shots where you can see everybody but her. Like she's not there with the witch scene at all.
yes, that's right.
So, I guess we'll call it there. We'll jump straight into our ratings and summaries. We'll start with Ryder.
All right. I'll do my subjective first. I quite enjoyed this movie more once I kind of understood the point of it. I was kind of searching for that. I feel a lot during the first half hour. I knew what the characters were doing. I knew what was going on, like in that he was trying to avoid dying, and I knew um, that uh, he's just looking for purpose or something at the end. He's talking to. I understood this was going to be kind of a fairly abstract on terms of like on that front for a while, but it wasn't really until my favorite scene where all the characters got together, kind of by chance, but in a way that's like makes them feel distinctly separated from the rest of society that seems to be falling apart. They're burning people alive and throwing accusations out left and right. Who's responsible for the plague? Who's responsible for making, creating sins and stuff like that? And that kind of gets juxtaposed with this kind of calming picnic scene where all these characters come together just as a bit of a stranger gesture to each other, just being kind. And I think that really, once I got that point and I understood like where this film was going to potentially go, I think that raised my subjective a little bit higher than where it was. Because I think there's a lot of abstractness with the characters on purpose because it's telling a very heavily thematic related story about the inevitability of death and things like that. And to give the characters, I guess, some even the squire, who's arguably the most dour of all the characters and has done, at least on the face of it, the most dark deeds that you can think of while on the crusade, where he's raping and pillaging and stuff like that. I think that is what kind of led to the, I guess, me enjoying the film a little bit more once we kind of got to see, I guess, the quality of the human spirit make it kind of showing out, because it's, for me, it's always, that always hits a little bit more home when you're telling a story about death. So I was probably hanging around a 5 at the start of the film, even though as much as I enjoyed death and the chess game, but as the story went on, that rose quite a bit. I'm in a solid 7 subjectively. Objectively, world building is set in the Dark Ages. It's during the bubonic plague and stuff like that. So there's a lot at stake as far as the world is concerned. I think most things are consistent with itself. Obviously, I have a few history nitpicks, being obviously the chess, the chainmail, and a few other things. But on the whole, the homages to what that time period was like, I really appreciated. I thought the tavern looked good and stuff like that. And then there's the more mystical aspect of the world building, be it Death and his rules. They're very hands off, I'll say, with his rules. Definitely got a soft core-ish magic system. There is a few times where I wish it was consistent. I wish his, not that Death needs a motivation, but it would have been cool to have a motivation for death as to why Antonious got to live as long as he did, as if the game itself is almost a delaying tactic. And then again, that ties into one of Crimson's problems about the chess game not being finished, if that was what was delaying his inevitable death. Um, I think Death the character is mostly intact. I don't really have any large issues with him outside of, I guess, questioning as to why. But again, that's just stuff I can overwrite with, like, it's death. It doesn't need a motivation. Uh, Squire, definitely the most dour of all the characters. I do think he's made a little bit better with the housemaid's involvement. Even though I think the housemaid is probably a weak character overall, I do like what she does for his character, and I do love a scene that she's in, being the wanting to offer help to someone who's dying, and which would make sense, the most sense for her from what little we do get of her. Um, I think Mia, the jester, and the kid, their kid, I think are definitely the heart of the story. I don't think this film gets as its point across as well without them. Um, One could argue that they are the point of the story, in that you just have to find some comfort and solace in your loved ones when death is running amok. Um, and then Antonious Block, and goes for Squire too, so this will double for him. But comes across as a very jaded crusader coming home from the Crusades, and he's seen so much death. He's been around it, and now he knows he's dying for one reason or another, and all he wants is to get some assurances that uh, there's going to be something after you die, and that ties into a lot of what faith and is in general. It's, I think there's a quote in here about how faith is like loving something that's in the dark that you can't see. Um, and it's a really striking quote, and I guess I really enjoyed it. Um, Plot is uh meandering, I guess would be the word. It's not a straightforward plot, other than it's just them traveling from one location to the next location to the next location, and eventually they're all grouped together to travel. Um, but the plague is running amok, and the plot services more of as a showcase for the story's themes. And it does fairly well in that regard. I do think there is some odd choices occasionally with it, but otherwise I think I'm okay with it. So with with a couple weak characters being the housemaid and some of the more I guess world building aspects being questionable, I'm probably sitting at a 7.5 objectively. I can probably be talked down. I don't see much wrong beyond what I've said, because I think they technically accomplished everything they set out to do. And there are nicks here and there, but overall, I think the writing is pretty spot on.
Springs next.
Oh boy, let me start with my objective. Um, but also make sure Crimson has enough to say too. Let's see. Cinematography work is overall good. The editing is also good. It's fine for the time. We've talked about this before with movies. I can credit it to the time period of the film and developments of the time it was made, and should not credit it to things of modern day, or because film is adjustable and adaptable, and um, uh, uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Malleable,
Yes, but when someone like someone else's work and incorporates it into their own.
stealing like an artist.
No, not necessarily thievery, but
Inspiration.
inspiration. That's the word. Inspiration or homage kind of thing. Like more films do that throughout time, and at the time of this, not much to go off of other than what was made, which could explain the whole feel and vibe I got from it of like stage performances, if that was um, what is knowledge to the director, but then again, I do not know. But it did have that sense to it. The acting, I think, was overall good. No one's acting was odd. I think everyone kind of seemed on par with their acting skills. Maybe John's had a little bit more, but costume design was all good. Writing, I would say, is good. If the language barrier of things from the subtitles of English to Swedish match. Um, Lighting overall was fine. It did seem like everything was natural lighting in this. I don't think they had any lighting on sets or the locations where they were at. It was just the time that they had within these 35 days, I think was said. The I think that's about it. The animal handling, if you want to go into that, was decent. That's just a random thing to bring up. I feel like there was something I had that was a little off. The pacing, I guess, was fine. Um, Contextual to the story. I feel like I had a gripe with one thing more negatively than the rest, but I can't recall what it was now. Overall, I think this is decently done. I have it at a 7 objectively
I think it
for the
was
film.
sound editing for you.
Oh, thank you. That was it. Audio mixing. Thank you, writer. Thank you. Yes, audio mixing, not as good as it could have been. That is the biggest hit to me. The choice of Foley and when to blend in the songs, because the songs didn't have any fade effect to them. They were just very apparent and intense when something occurred. Like when that storm hit, bam, it hit you. The transition into the thunderstorm, that wind was very loud. Didn't out deafen the actors' vocal points, but it was like the only thing you could hear. The choice for silences were good in times where either for comedic bits or emotional bits, like the tavern whenever all eyes are on Joff, or the witch being burned. Um, so it was just a lot of back and forth on like good aspects used that I saw, but also the questionable, confusing bits. And Crimson, as you said, within their time, maybe they just couldn't get to everything that could be, but also the importance of what they chose and what not to choose, I was questionable. Yeah, that's what I said. That's still at a 7 though. Overall for that for objectively. Subjectively, this I don't hate the movie. I wasn't bored by the movie, but I would not say it's my cup of tea of entertainment. Um, I was thinking more about it like after finishing it, just kind of where it rests with me, and especially after the pod now and seeing it through kind of a little different lens through the use of both of you and what you've brought up, if it would change at all, and it might. But right now I have it at a 4.5. Um, it's I think overall just not necessarily something I'd go out of my way to see, but it's not something I fully dislike.
That makes some sense to me. I as much as I enjoyed it, I would definitely wouldn't recommend this to everyone I know. It's not a easy. It's not an easy to digest movie, I guess.
Yeah.
You got to be a particular film seer for this kind of film. It's not your popcorn flick. Then I guess that leaves me. I will start with my subjective. I would kind of had a similar sentiment to Ryder's thought process, where I was kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Um, but once I started getting that it was heavily based off of the theming and just the concept of death, it's an intriguing thing to talk about and to think about. And the way they handled it, I liked it. Uh, some moments could be, I guess, a little heavy-handed or like more on like poetry side of things on how they describe certain stuff. Uh, but overall, um, I enjoyed it, so I have it a 6.5. Something I'm willing to see again. I don't know if I ever will, but I'm willing to. Uh, Objectively, there's going to be some echoes. I think all the characters we had were consistent with themselves. The closest to not being would be Death, but he's kind of saved by not having many rules at all that are hard rules, I should say. We have some soft rules to work with, but nothing solid really. Uh, the rules around him about how people can see him, if he can't be seen, we have the gesture that can see him, but he just has visions in general. He sees the Virgin Mary or someone he perceives to be. Uh, so they didn't really dive too much into the visions angle for the world building. Uh, so that's kind of all up in the air. Death actively killing people is kind of different. uh, Usually, when I see the depiction of death is them just taking the dead to their next location, but not actively sending them.
Man, do I have
That
a
was
film
totally
series to
murder.
pitch to you, Crimson?
Uh, well, if you and I ever find the time to watch the 20 shows we got going on the back burner, can I add that one to it? So that was interesting, and it kind of leaves up to interpretation the ending of how they died. I like what we all brainstormed being the whole plague took them all out, but it's not something that they clearly built to be what actually happened. The closest thing I think to any proof is the maid is slightly sweaty, and I can't. It's hard to tell if it's sweat or like tears from her cheeks of like how happy she is about it being finally over or whatever. But it's the plague. You should have like blisters and pus, and you don't look pleasant with the plague. um, and even their visual depiction of the grave robber, he hardly looked like he was infected at all to me. Um, yeah, the plot's pretty straightforward. Just going from one location to another, get to the castle, or with the jester Mia thing, just go somewhere. They're on their way to the festival or whatever it was, I suppose. Um, with uh, what was it? Antonious? Is that what his name was? Yeah,
The knight?
Antonious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I think he's an interesting character. I like that he does ask questions and probe, and that it kind of annoys Death that he asks so many questions. It kind of comes down to the issue I brought up that I find being the not motive of death, but the reasoning behind stretching out the game, because it could have just been a one sit down game thing. Writer brought up the idea of, well, Death had to go somewhere and do something, but that's not something they really establish that I recall. It'd just be a good like fix or workaround. Um, and I do think the not having a definitive closure to the end of the game is an objective flaw with it, because it is something they built up to through the whole film, and we don't get the satisfaction of it. That we could either finish the game in the forest, we could have him say checkmate at the end, or hold a chess piece, the king. Multitude of options to give kind of closure, but they don't. Um, I brought up some editing stuff. Springs brought up editing stuff. Most of which I can pass with as kind of it's the time. It wasn't too egregious where there was issues left and right. There was just kind of a few sprinkled about. I actually think the lighting was pretty good in this. I really liked how they contrasted the shadows in this. Like just the opening bit with the bird in the sky. I thought that looked pretty cool. And I also rewound it to see if you could see a string or anything of the bird. Uh, I couldn't tell if that was a real bird or not. It looked fake, but it looked real at the same time. Anyways, um, I have this at a 7. I could, well, see, I was between a 7 and a 7.5, and it's tough. You know what? No, I'm going 7.5. That's my final answer. 7.5 objectively.
All right.
Anything else before Ryder takes us out?
I guess I had one last question to bring up, and hopefully it doesn't change any ratings. So apologies for that. Do you think the witch actually saw the devil?
No. I
Too
don't think
abstract.
so.
I couldn't give you a definitive answer. I
Okay.
can. There's a part of
Either a
me that
cause of the plague or hallucination or
yeah, it could be any of them. She could have a fever hallucination. She could have had. She could have. It could have been her just being scared, as kind of implied by Antonious, and her just that's just her way of protecting herself from the, the church, in a way. So there's a lot of other things that could go into it, but yeah, I don't have enough to give a definitive answer.
I kind of saw it more as she's defeated. She knows she's gonna die. She doesn't have any hope, so she's just playing into what they're calling her. She's like, "Don't you know? I've conversed with the devil. I look into my eye, type deal." Just like, why fight the accusations? Just
She's already doomed to die,
yeah.
So that's kind of how I saw it. She was just playing into the role they thrust on her.
Okay, I was just curious.
How about you?
I think she saw something, but being that how Death talks to Antonius about God could be saying the same thing about the devil to others. So I don't think he's necessarily real, because even the connection to Joff's story about seeing the devil, he admits was a fake story. So that leans into that he hasn't had a vision of the devil before, which gives me strength that maybe the witch didn't actually see the actual devil, but something that she's believing to be, or she did something to cause and she's blaming it on such, which is why they think the plague is, or the sickness is involved around her, which is the reason for her to be burned, um, for her witchcraft. So I think she's set on believing something she saw, but it could be a point of the plague, it could be a hallucination, it could be some other actor dressed up that she saw from a distance, who knows.
All right. Well, with that, gentlemen, shall I read us out?
Sure.
Yep.
All right, audience, thank you for listening, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, GoodPods, iHeartRadio, Podcasts, and Samsung. And if you've been on our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble, we thank you for watching our PNGTuber slideshow there. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe everywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions and how much you love them. And as always, I've been a Geeky Writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Springs.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.